The various theories of international relation relate to the way the world is organized. The theories of international relation, Marxism, discuss the separation of the class. Through this worldview, emphasis is placed on the economic of a particular country, placing economic status over any other aspect of civilization. Those who follow the Marxist line of a thinking feel that the more popular theories of realism and idealism are self-serving theories that are used by the economic elite to justify inequalities of the world.
1818 to 1883 was a German philosopher, revolutionary, and the co-founder of modern communism. Karl Marx has been enormously influential throughout the 20th century, and his ideas have been applied to a host of disciplines, notably economics, sociology, history, and philosophy. The ideas of Marx make up what is called Marxism. Marxism is primarily an anti-capitalist economic view that emphasizes class struggle and materialism. In regards to international relations, Marxism is the approach that emphasizes the role of economics above all else. This approach rejects the paradigms of both realism and liberalism and instead insists that state actions are determined by economic factors at the expense of everything else. Under this approach, power, security, cooperation, etc. are ultimately driven by economics. Issues related to colonialism, class struggle, and materialism play a central role. Basically,
Classical Marxism is the variety of socialism and provides the intellectual base for various forms of communism. It was conceived as a reaction against the rampant capitalism and liberalism of the 19th century Europe, and it is grounded in materialism and it is committed to political practice as the end goal of thought. Marx believed that the class identity was configured in the relation with the mode of production. In other words, a class is a collective of individuals who have a similar relationship with the means of production. The proletariat. The proletariat is the those individuals who sell their labor power and who in the capitalist mode of production do not own the means of production. According to Marx, the capitalist mode of production established the condition for the bourgeois to exploit the proletariat due to the fact that the worker's labor power generates an added value greater than his salary. Bourgeois. The bourgeois is those who own the means of production and buy labor power from the proletariat, who are recompensed by a salary to exploiting the proletariat.
The first way in which the bourgeoisie control the proletariat is in the workplace. Now, Marx says it's our species being, it's what we do as humans to produce things, to make things. Now, left to our own devices, we would probably be quite creative about this, quite expressive. But the problem is, of course, is we spend most of our lives making things for an employer. Now, bearing in mind here that Marx was writing in the 19th century when the vast majority of production was done in factories, and so the proletariat was mainly employed literally making things, which might not be the case today. But Marx points out, quite rightly, that our labour is controlled by the bourgeoisie, how we spend our time, and also surplus value out of our labour is taken and they make a profit on this. So this is the first way in which the bourgeoisie control the proletariat. Now the next way in which the bourgeoisie control the proletariat in a capitalist society is perhaps of more interest to us as political philosophers, and that is the manner in which they control the state and they control government. Now, we generally believe, I suspect, that the government is elected, and we elect it on a particular programme, and then it does more or less what we want it to do in some way. The state overall, sometimes we think, is neutral between different political parties, different political opinions, or different interest groups. Now, Marx has no time for this whatsoever. The state and the government will always govern in the interests of the dominant class. Now, this might be because the dominant class puts members of its personnel in crucial positions, or it might be just because the structure of a government is naturally going to govern in favour of the dominant class. Now, even when we have policies which appear to be of benefit to the proletariat and against the interests of the bourgeoisie, take for example the development of a welfare state and an NHS in the 40s in England. It's taxed upon wealthy members of the bourgeoisie perhaps, and presents a benefit to members of the proletariat. This, for Marx, is just a set of policies which massages capitalism. What it does is it makes us less keen to overthrow capitalism, and therefore prolongs it in the long run. So everything, no matter how beneficial it might first appear, is to the benefit of the dominant class in society.